Imagine walking into a dimly lit bar, a place where the walls echo with tension and everyone knows their place, until tonight. What happens when hate and cruelty collide with courage and honor? In a single moment, lives can change forever. Stay with us to uncover a story that will leave you questioning everything you thought about power, pride, and respect. The Rusty Anchor, a small-town bar with a reputation as rough as its regulars. On most nights, the beer flows freely and tempers run hot. The Iron Wolves, a feared group of bikers, have made this their domain, ruling through intimidation and mockery. They thrive on targeting those they see as weak, breaking spirits with words and glares sharper than knives. But tonight is different. As the crowd settles into their usual routine, a quiet figure walks in, someone who doesn't belong here by the wolves' standards. Their laughter begins, harsh and cruel, as they set their sights on this unassuming target. What no one expects is how this stranger will challenge their beliefs and change everything in the process. A storm is brewing, and it's about to break. The Rusty Anchor is no ordinary bar. Dim yellow lights barely illuminate the sticky wooden tables and scuffed floors. A jukebox hums faintly in the background, its music drowned by the rowdy conversations and clinking of beer bottles. Cigarette smoke lingers heavy in the air, mixing with the sharp scent of cheap alcohol. This isn't a place for the faint of heart. Every glance exchanged carries an edge, every laugh feels like it hides a threat. In the far corner, the Iron Wolves claim their territory. Leather jackets emblazoned with snarling wolves drape over their broad shoulders. Their presence dominates the room, a mix of loud voices, booming laughter, and arrogant sneers. Travis, the gang's leader, sits at the center, his piercing eyes scanning the room for amusement. He's a man used to getting what he wants, and tonight, he's looking for a new target. The noise quiets slightly as the bar's door creaks open. All eyes turn toward the entrance, and in walks Mike Tyson. His presence doesn't need an announcement. It's felt, almost like the air has been sucked out of the room. Tyson doesn't need to say a word. His frame, his calm, focused expression, and his reputation speak volumes. Whispers ripple across the bar. The Iron Wolves exchange looks, trying to assess whether this unexpected guest is friend or foe. Tyson moves with purpose, scanning the room without flinching under the weight of so many eyes. He heads toward the bar, his sheer presence commanding attention. The wolves straighten in their seats, their earlier bravado dimming just slightly. But Travis? He leans back in his chair with a smirk, the wheels already turning in his head. Tyson approaches the bar with steady, deliberate steps. There's no urgency, no hesitation. He slides onto a stool and nods at the bartender. "Water," he says, his voice calm but firm. The room falls unusually quiet. A man like Tyson, ordering water in a bar full of beer-swilling brutes, feels like an anomaly. Even the bartender hesitates for a moment before complying. The wolves exchange amused glances, nudging each other. Travis leans forward, the smirk on his face growing wider. "Water?" Travis's voice cuts through the silence, loud and mocking. "You walk into my bar, looking like that, and order water?" His crew laughs on cue, the sound bouncing off the walls. Tyson doesn't react. He takes a sip of his drink, his eyes steady and focused on the glass in his hand. The lack of response seems to irritate Travis. He stands, his boots thudding against the wooden floor as he saunters over to Tyson. "You deaf, pal? Or just too good to answer?" Travis sneers, standing close enough that the tension becomes palpable. The rest of the bar watches with bated breath, some expecting fireworks, others just curious about how this will play out. Tyson finally looks up, meeting Travis's gaze. His expression remains unreadable, calm, yet piercing enough to make Travis falter for a split second. "Just grabbing a drink," Tyson says evenly. "Don't want any trouble." The simplicity of the statement throws Travis off. He expected anger, fear, or defiance, anything but this calm self-assurance. For a moment, he doesn't know how to respond. The room feels heavy, the tension almost unbearable. But Travis recovers quickly, masking his unease with a laugh. Trouble, he repeats, his voice dripping with mockery. You don't look like the kind of guy who avoids trouble. He gestures at Tyson's build, his scars, his unmistakable aura. Tyson takes another sip of water, unfazed. Looks can be deceiving, he replies, his tone as steady as ever. The calmness unnerves Travis and his crew. They're used to people either cowering or fighting back. This quiet strength is something they don't know how to handle. Travis narrows his eyes, his smirk fading slightly. You think you're better than us, huh? Travis presses, his voice lower, more menacing now. The room feels like it's holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. But Tyson doesn't bite. Just here for a drink, he repeats, setting his glass down with deliberate care. The silence in his words speaks louder than any argument could. For the first time, the wolves begin to question whether they've picked the wrong man to mess with. The rusty anchor's once noisy atmosphere now feels stifling, the silence buzzing with unease. Tyson sits motionless, his water glass resting on the counter. Despite the eyes on him, he's calm, unbothered. But for the Iron Wolves, his silence is more than they can bear. One of the gang members, a wiry man with tattoos crawling up his neck, steps forward, knocking Tyson's drink onto the floor with a careless swipe of his hand. The glass shatters, water spreading across the bar's sticky floor like a slow-moving wave. The sound seems louder than it should, echoing in the tension-filled room. Oops, the man sneers, feigning innocence. Guess you're gonna need another drink, big guy. The group roars with laughter, their mocking voices cutting through the thick air. Tyson glances at the shattered glass, his face unreadable. He doesn't react, not a flinch, not a muscle twitch. This lack of response only fuels their bravado. Travis smirks from his spot, leaning casually against the bar. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue, he taunts, his voice dripping with mockery. Or maybe you're just not used to people standing up to you. The insults quickly turn personal, their words cutting deeper as they attempt to provoke him. The gang throws racial slurs, mocking his background, his past, and anything else they think will hit a nerve. Their words are venomous, the room growing heavier with each passing second. Tyson, however, remains seated, his hands resting lightly on the counter. His composure is unnerving, a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding him. He doesn't fire back. He doesn't rise to their bait. His silence speaks volumes, and for those watching, it's clear that this isn't submission, it's restraint. But the gang doesn't see it that way. They mistake his calm demeanor for weakness, believing they've got the upper hand. One of the wolves leans in closer, his voice low and menacing. What's the matter? Big man scared? Tyson finally lifts his gaze, locking eyes with the man. His expression is calm, but his eyes? They carry a weight that makes the man hesitate, even if only for a fraction of a second. The room seems to hold its breath, everyone sensing the rising tension, the impending storm. Yet Tyson does nothing. He simply picks up a napkin, dabbing at the water on the counter as if nothing had happened. The simplicity of the action is almost infuriating to the wolves. They thrive on chaos, on reaction, and Tyson's refusal to give them that only makes them angrier. Look at him, Travis says, addressing his gang. Big, bad Mike Tyson. What a joke. He leans closer, his voice dripping with mockery. You're just a washed-up has-been, aren't you? The bar's patrons exchange uneasy glances. It's clear to everyone except the wolves that they're playing with fire. Tyson's calmness isn't weakness, it's a storm waiting to break. Tyson rises slowly from his seat, his towering frame commanding attention. He brushes off his pants with deliberate care, his movements measured, calm. The room watches, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Where you going, champ? Travis's voice rings out, his smirk returning as he steps in front of Tyson, blocking his path to the door. We're just getting started. Travis spreads his arms wide, as if daring Tyson to try and push past him. Behind him, the rest of the wolves inch closer, forming a loose semicircle around their leader. The air in the bar feels electric, the patrons on edge, unsure of what's about to unfold. Tyson's eyes meet Travis's, calm and unyielding. I don't want trouble, he says, his voice low but firm. Let me leave. But Travis isn't backing down. He gestures to one of his men, a burly biker with a beer in hand. The man smirks, stepping forward and deliberately pouring the contents of his drink over Tyson's shoulder. The liquid splashes down his shirt, dripping onto the floor. Laughter erupts from the wolves. What's the matter, champ? Can't handle a little beer, one of them jeers. Tyson exhales slowly, his composure unshaken. He locks eyes with Travis, his voice steady but carrying a weight that silences the room. Keep pushing, he says, his words deliberate and chilling, and you won't like what happens next. For a moment, the bar falls silent. Even the wolves hesitate, the gravity of Tyson's words hanging in the air. But Travis, too caught up in his own arrogance, laughs it off. Oh, I'm scared now, he mocks, stepping closer to Tyson. What are you gonna do, big man? Teach me a lesson? The bartender, a wiry man with a weathered face, steps forward, his voice shaking. Travis, enough, he pleads. Let him go. You don't know what you're messing with. Travis waves him off, his focus still on Tyson. Stay out of this, old man, he snaps, his tone dismissive. Tyson doesn't move, doesn't flinch. His calm presence only serves to heighten the tension, the room on the verge of exploding. The wolves exchange glances, their earlier confidence starting to waver. And then Tyson takes a step forward, closing the gap between him and Travis. The room seems to hold its breath, waiting for the storm to break. The tension snaps like a tightly wound cord as Travis steps closer, his finger jabbing toward Tyson's chest. You think you're better than us, huh? He sneers. You're nothing but. Before he can finish, Tyson moves. It's so fast that no one sees it coming. His hand shoots out, gripping Travis's wrist in an ironclad hold. The smirk on Travis's face vanishes instantly, replaced by wide-eyed panic. Enough, Tyson says firmly, his voice carrying the weight of a command. Travis tries to yank his arm free, but Tyson's grip doesn't budge. The gang sees their leader struggling and steps in, their arrogance blinding them to the storm they've provoked. The first swing comes from a burly gang member with a scar running down his cheek. Tyson dodges effortlessly, his movements smooth and calculated. In a blur, he counters with a single, precise jab to the man's torso. The biker staggers backward, gasping for air, collapsing onto a nearby table. Chaos erupts. Two more bikers charge at Tyson, one swinging a pool cue. Tyson sidesteps, catching the cue mid-swing and snapping it in half with a quick twist of his hands. The broken pieces clatter to the floor as Tyson delivers a swift kick to one man's knee, sending him toppling over. The second biker hesitates, but it's too late. Tyson's open palm meets his chest, knocking him off balance and onto the floor. The bar becomes a whirlwind of movement, tables and chairs shoved aside as the gang tries to overwhelm him. But Tyson's precision is unmatched. Every strike is controlled, every movement efficient. He doesn't waste energy on unnecessary violence, he's defending himself, nothing more. Travis finally breaks free of Tyson's earlier grip, lunging at him with a wild swing. Tyson ducks easily, stepping behind him and locking him in a hold. Calm down, Tyson says, his voice calm but firm. You don't want this. Travis thrashes, but his struggles are futile. Tyson releases him with a shove, sending him stumbling into a table. The remaining gang members hesitate, their bravado shattered. Around the room, their fallen comrades groan, clutching bruises and battered egos. The once arrogant gang now looks like a group of amateurs, their confidence replaced by fear and humiliation. The bar patrons, silent witnesses to the spectacle, exchange stunned glances. They've just witnessed something extraordinary, a man outnumbered but completely in control, using his strength not to destroy but to defend. Travis, clutching his side, glares at Tyson. You think this makes you better than us? He spits. But his voice wavers, the bravado gone. Tyson's calm gaze meets his. No, he says simply. It makes me smarter. The bar is eerily quiet now, the tension replaced by a heavy sense of unease. Tyson stands in the center of the room, unscathed and composed, while the gang members nurse their bruises. He surveys the scene, his eyes settling on Travis, who leans against the bar, his face pale and sweaty. Tyson's voice cuts through the silence, calm yet resonant. You came after me because you thought I was weak. You thought your numbers made you strong. But strength isn't about throwing punches or picking fights, it's about knowing when not to. The words hang in the air, sinking into everyone present. Tyson steps closer to Travis, his tone softening but losing none of its power. Hate doesn't make you powerful. It makes you small. And if you keep living like this, trying to tear others down just to feel big, you'll never be anything more than what you are right now. Travis lowers his gaze, unable to meet Tyson's eyes. Around him, the other gang members shift uncomfortably, their earlier arrogance replaced by visible shame. Tyson turns to the rest of the bar, his voice carrying a quiet authority. It's easy to tear someone down. It's harder to show respect, to build something meaningful. But that's the only way you'll ever get real strength. The bartender watches silently, his expression a mixture of relief and admiration. Tyson walks to the counter, tossing a few bills onto it to cover the mess. Sorry about the glass, he says, nodding to the broken shards on the floor. With that, Tyson heads for the door. No one stops him. No one dares. As he steps outside into the cool night air, the weight of the confrontation lingers behind him, a lesson etched into the minds of everyone who witnessed it. The gang members sit quietly, their bravado gone, their faces marked with the kind of reflection that only comes after being utterly humbled. For the first time, they understand the true meaning of strength, and it doesn't look anything like they imagined. As the dust settled in the bar that night, one thing became clear: hate and prejudice are not signs of strength, but of ignorance. The gang had tried to assert their dominance through insults and violence, but they learned the hard way that true power lies in control, respect, and self-discipline. Mike Tyson's actions that evening weren't just about defending himself, they were about teaching a lesson. His refusal to stoop to their level demonstrated the transformative power of respect. The gang members left with more than bruises, they carried a new understanding of their actions and the harm they'd caused. This story is a powerful reminder that breaking the cycle of hatred begins with us. If we choose respect over prejudice, we can build a world where kindness outweighs ignorance. What would you have done if you were in Mike Tyson's shoes? Let us know in the comments below. If this story inspired you to believe in the power of respect and the need to end hatred, give this video a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, we can create a world where understanding and compassion triumph over ignorance and division.